Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, Honorable Leader of Opposition, and fellow members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly greet you all this afternoon, Nisai and Ravinaka. Mr. Speaker, sir, before I address the 2026-2027 national budget, I wish to pay tribute to a young public servant whose passing has deeply saddened the Ministry of Justice family. Last week, the Ministry bid a heartfelt farewell to our beloved colleague, 27-year-old Penny Bulikula Ngalubakandua, a valued member of the official receiver's office, whose life of 27 years, though brief, left a lasting impression on all who had the privilege of knowing him. On behalf of the Ministry of Justice, I extend our deepest condolences to Penny's mother, his siblings, and the entire Ngalubakandua family. While we mourn his passing, may his memory continue to inspire us all to serve our people with the same kindness, integrity, and dedication that he demonstrated each day. Mr. Speaker, sir, today I rise to present this budget contribution with a spirit of responsibility, vision, and service to our nation. This budget is designed to strengthen our economy, support families, improve public services, and create opportunities for every citizen. We recognize the challenges many people face and are committed to using public resources wisely and fairly. Our goal is not only to manage today's needs, but to build a stronger future for our children and grandchildren. As the Bible reminds us in the books of Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5, and I quote, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty," unquote. This verse calls us to careful planning, wise stewardship, and disciplined action in shaping our national financial future, and this is what this budget does. At first glance, some may focus on the reduction itself. However, good governance is not measured by the size of the budget, but by the results that are achieved through the responsible stewardship of public resources. This budget reflects the government's commitment to fiscal discipline, sustainable public finances, and ensuring that every dollar entrusted to us by the people of Fiji delivers maximum value. In a global environment marked by economic uncertainty and competing demands on public finances, responsible governments must make difficult choices. This government has demonstrated the courage to do so while continuing to protect critical services and strategic national priorities. Mr. Speaker, sir, as Assistant Minister for Justice, I view this budget not as a constraint, but as an opportunity to strengthen the culture of our efficiency and accountability within the public service. Ably led by our Permanent Secretary and our senior managers, I have no doubt that we will be more efficient, more dynamic, and strengthen our accountability and processes for our ministry. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reality is that expectations of our people continue to grow. Citizens expect government services that are faster, more accessible, more transparent, and more responsive. Meeting those expectations is not simply a question of spending more money. It is about working smarter, embracing innovation, improving systems, and ensuring that public institutions are focused on outcomes. This budget reinforces an important principle: that a modern and capable civil service must continuously seek ways to do more with less, eliminate inefficiencies, improve processes, and direct resources towards the areas that deliver the greatest impact for our people. Mr. Speaker, sir, while the Ministry's overall allocation has reduced, government has deliberately protected funding in areas that support long-term institutional strengthening and justice sector reforms. Under SEG1 established staff, the allocation has reduced by 1.7% to $4,608,513. This adjustment is largely attributed to the government's decision to reduce the employer contribution to the Fiji National Provident Fund by 2%. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, sir, SEG2 wage earners has reduced by 1.3% to $305,035, reflecting the corresponding reduction in the government's employer FNPF contribution for wage earners. Sec 3 travel and communications has been reduced by 7.5%. This reflects the Ministry's continued commitment to ensuring that government resources are utilized efficiently while maintaining effective service delivery across the country. Likewise, Mr. Speaker, Sec 4 maintenance and operations has been reduced by 14%. These savings demonstrate our commitment to prudent financial management and ensuring that every public dollar delivers value for money. This is a disciplined budget, not a diminished one. It protects core staffing, preserves essential operations, and directs resources to where they are most needed. Mr. Speaker, while several expenditure categories have been carefully managed, the government continues to invest in initiatives that directly improve access to justice. I am pleased to note that Sec 5 purchase of goods and services has increased to support the establishment of a new Ministry of Justice office in Nakasi. An additional 74,000 has been allocated for this important initiative. The Nakasi corridor continues to experience rapid population growth, and the establishment of this office will bring essential justice services closer to thousands of residents in Nakasi and surrounding communities. It reflects our commitment to ensuring that government services are accessible, responsive, and centered on the needs of the people. Mr. Speaker, under Sec 6 operating grants and transfers, the allocation has reduced by approximately 40%, primarily due to adjustment made to the allocation for justice of the peace allowances. We have begun cleaning out data and reminding our JPs that their critical role in the community must be reflected by submitting their reports on time and updating their information with our office. Only those JPs, whether a civil servant or non-civil servants, will be paid their allowances when they submit their paperwork in a timely manner. The Ministry will continue expanding the training and deployment of justices of the peace, particularly in rural, remote, and maritime communities, where access to legal and government services can often be limited. Their work in witnessing documents, certifying copies, and providing essential services ensures that justice remains accessible throughout Fiji. Mr. Speaker, under Seg 7, special expenditures funding has been rationalized but remains sufficient to support the Ministry's reform agenda, including digitization, legislative administration, and parole-related functions. Although the Ministry is operating with a constrained physical environment, this budget provides the resources necessary to continue implementing key reforms, modernizing services, and strengthening the administration of justice throughout Fiji. Importantly, government has continued to invest in the Ministry's digitization program with an allocation of 400,000. This is more than an expenditure item. It is the continuation of a partial investment in efficiency. Digitization reduces delays, improves record management, enhances transparency, strengthens public confidence, and allows the Ministry to deliver better services at lower administrative cost over time. These are precisely the kinds of reforms that enable government to become leaner, more efficient, and more responsive to the needs of our people. We will start with these 400,000, complete activities set against it, and strategize on identify ways to continue to attract investment in this critical yet ongoing priority area. Mr. Speaker, particularly significant is the continued funding of the implementation of the Administration of Justice program. Although operating with a constrained physical environment, government has retained 300,000 for this very critical initiative because justice reform cannot be placed on hold. The administration of justice is one of the fundamental responsibilities of the state. It requires continuous investment in legislative reform, modern legal frameworks, improved system, and stronger institutions. Through this program, the Ministry will continue advancing key reform designs to ensure that our justice system remains efficient, accessible, transparent, and fit for purpose in a rapidly changing world. This reflects a government that is not merely managing today's challenges, but investing in the foundation of tomorrow's success. Mr. Speaker, sir, what this budget demonstrates is that fiscal responsibility and effective public service delivery are not competing objectives. They are complementary objectives. Honorable Speaker, allow me to speak in Itoke. Turang sa na Speaker.
Honorable
Auto
Speaker,
lagi sa kami bagarita na nungguray may baleta na itubo bagay ni Rosabulu Kor, Rosabulu Kavit.
2026 and
Eleven na
2027
tuwi ray may baleta na itubo ni labon niya bakiwo. Yemi tukuna ba dolo. Sa ngayon na raw bibiti. Andren riango signi kileng ay biti. Bakilatel nga na bi matin tuwe buru raramba. Ito dono men dakila ni signi raw ni bibu ke weekenda. Kaya na matin tuwe na duanga na ngauna.
we should also note
Matin tu boy baka bibita na kena baka yang atake baka alam tua ka baka buku na ilabo ni matin tu me baka ungeti kina na loloma daga bata bi baka tora daga taki kena tango maki tailanga na ilabo ni matin tu boy bina ka di bono ko biti el seven yado nga na ilabo ya daga bata pero rongori kena baka tumburi ng bula and bi kasa turao bi ken
work together.
by focusing on efficiency, prioritizing reform, invest in better system and protecting criminal justice programs, we are ensuring that the Ministry of Justice continue to fulfill its mandate despite tighter fiscal conditions. This is the hallmark of a mature and responsible government, one that recognizes the need for discipline today in order to secure better outcomes tomorrow. The message to the public service is clear. We must continue to innovate, improve, modernize, and deliver. We must continue building a culture where performance is driven not by the size of our budgets, but by the quality of our leadership, the strength of our systems, and our unwavering commitment to the people we serve. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to respond to some of the contributions made by our opposition members. Allow me first to respond to Honorable Pillay. Let me be very clear with you, Honorable Pillay, and the opposition members. The last government of PM Bainimarama left the sugar industry in a very damaged state. They presided over a decline, they failed to act decisively, and they allowed one of our most important industries to be pushed to the edge. The opposition now wants to speak on the sugar about the province of Ra. Yet it was their own actions that lead to the dismantling of the FSC Penang mill. Listen to me very well, honorable opposition members. This decision remains a source of distress for the farmers in Ra till today. Mr. Speaker, sir, I call on the Ra farmers to begin a managed transition towards diversifying cropping while this government and its partner institution will provide the necessary support. Mr. Speaker, sir, some of our Ra farmers are taking decisive steps to diversifying their cropping systems by planting cowpea, beans, and coffee. And that's, I thank the Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Sakiuso Tumbuna, and also Honorable Kamida. These grassroots shifts deserve recognition and targeted support from this August House. For generations, many families in Ra have relied heavily on a narrow set of crops which was damaged and distracted by the Fiji First government. Recently, however, hardworking farmers across the province have begun planting cowpea and coffee as a complementary crops. Cowpea offers a fast maturing nutritious legume that improves household food security and provides an additional source of income at our local markets. With stable slopes and microclimates in parts of Ra, coffee can provide a long-term revenue, stimulate small-scale processing enterprise, and create jobs in our rural community in Ra. Honorable Speaker, sir, for your information, Ra coffee has a reputation both at home and around the world that it is, because of its distinct sweetness. It's one of the sweetest coffee around the world. Mr. Speaker, sir, I conclude by joining the honorable members in commending my Turangamatangali, the Honorable Minister for Finance, Honorable Esrom Emmanuel, for delivering a balanced, prudent, and responsible budget during a period when economics around the world continued to face significant uncertainty. Despite these global challenges, this government has delivered a budget that strikes the right balance between fiscal responsibility and continued investment in essential public service. It reflects our commitment to strengthening institutions, improving service delivery, and ensuring that development benefits all Fijians. And before I take my seat, I want to correct the Honorable Ketan Lal. Unfortunately, he's not here again when I'm speaking. And also to the honorable members of the opposition. We were sacked from the Fiji First Party. Let me make this very clear. We were sacked by the Fiji First Party and our letter was signed by the Honorable Koya. And Honorable Koya is there to make this issue very clear. When we were sacked, we were independent and we show our support to the Honorable Prime Minister because we know he will take Fiji to a right direction. And with those few words, I commend this budget to this August House. Pinakabalib.